at Arkansas. I think he's an outstanding man. He's great for the league. He's done a wonderful job there in the short time he's been there. Respect him as a coach. It'll be a big challenge for a football team.
I would agree with that, Ogeron. I think Sam Pittman has done an excellent job. He hired a couple good coordinators. Kendall Briles has done a good job running that offense, and Barry Odom has been excellent on defense. Chad Morris did not win a single Southeastern Conference game at Arkansas. Not one. He and I are tied in career victories. None. So to inherit that mess and to put a competent product on the field 2 years in a row, not a powerhouse, not a team that's contending for championships, but a competent team, has been really impressive. So I wanted to take kind of a big picture look at Arkansas, not getting into the weeds of personnel, not looking at injuries here. We'll get into that as we move forward in the week, just Wednesday. But I do want to look at some big picture things. So this is an Arkansas team that is fourth in the country in rushing offense. They run it 46 times a game for 243 yards. That is just over 5 yards a carry. On the offensive end, they're 88th in passing offense. They throw it for about 214 a game. I don't think that's going to surprise you very much. It's a team that wants to get behind a big offensive line with a huge quarterback, and they just want to run the ball ahead, and they do it very well.
Yeah, they do. And I think for me, the thing that wows me the most is they don't have like one guy that you say, man, we got to shut this guy down in the run game. They got like 4 or 5 dudes, and they're all like sitting around 400 yards, and you got to be prepared for all of them. They're going to not just run, old-fashioned ISO, and they're going to run some misdirection. They're going to run some jet sweeps. They're going to run some, motion stuff to get you looking this way, and then they're going to be running back the other way, and then they're going to mix a quarterback run into it once you get all that other stuff going. So they run a really multiple attack, which is why they're one of the better teams in the country at running the football. And then once you get that run game going, obviously it takes so much pressure off KJ Jefferson to get that play-action game started.
What am I supposed to think of LSU's run defense? I honestly have no idea. I have no idea.
That's been them all year, man. You got performances like you have against Alabama, where I thought Robinson would be running it down their throat, and you shut them down and keep them under 10 yards rushing, which is mind-blowing. And then you just go a couple weeks before to Kentucky, and they're running it whatever the heck they want to do and doing whatever they want to do on you. But I think for me, that was a huge breath of fresh air to see Durante open that playbook up. Not be afraid to call some stuff, not be afraid to call some blitzes, and especially the run fits and the run blitz. And that was the thing that just made me blow my mind, just watching teams run the ball down our throat all year, is that, man, guys are just sitting there, just letting them get downfield without being touched. I think we were a lot more aggressive last week, and that's the same sort of play you're going to have Saturday in Death Valley to slow this rushing attack down.
So Arkansas 75th in the country in third down offense, not all that great, nothing to see there. On the defensive side of the football, Barry Odom's group, 27th in the country in pass defense. They've done a good job with that. 74th in the country in rush defense. Not as good there, but it is a solid unit that has kept them in just about every game that they've played.
Yeah, they play solid. They play scrappy. Guys that bumps off the screen for me is Bumper Poole, their linebacker.
Yeah, he's really good.
He makes a ton of tackles, just all over the field, sideline to sideline, just a physical presence out there for them. And also Trey Williams on the D-line. He gets in the backfield and creates a lot of havoc. So you're going to have to get those two guys blocked, and they play around those guys very well, and that's how they've been in a lot of games this year. So I think that defense is well coached. It's not going to be a defense where you just feel like you can just go out there and do whatever the heck you want to do. You're going to have to scheme them up well. You're going to have to play assignment sound. And I think that if you do those things, there's plays to be had on them, as you can see all throughout this year.
They had that 3-game stretch in the middle. Georgia really got after them. Then they went to Oxford and lost a heartbreaker where they went for 2 there at the end, lost 52-51. And then Auburn went up to Fayetteville and just beat the brakes off them. I don't really have another way to say it, but they've rebounded nicely the last couple of weeks and look to be in fairly good shape at this point. They defensively are 9th in the country in third down defense, done a very good job on third downs on defense. And then one thing that I did notice in this game, Arkansas is 117th in the country in terms of penalties per game. They get penalized 8.5 times for 71 yards. Incidentally, LSU, the least penalized team in college football. LSU only gets 4 penalties a game for about 34 yards. So certainly there is a coaching element to the penalties. You illegal formation, somebody didn't know where to be. You get a delay a game because we're not getting the play in on time or something. Like but there's also not to hold, not to get a false start penalty. That's just screwing up. So there are times when I look at penalties and I go, man, I draw something from it. And there are times when I go, some of these things are fluky. And what if they decline the penalty because they hit you for you got an illegal hands to the face and you interfere with the pass, but they threw a 60-yard touchdown, so they didn't count either one of the penalties. Like it just sometimes that's kind of arbitrary, I think.
Yeah, I don't really ever put too much into the penalties, unless it's like unsportsmanlike stuff after the whistle. I've been on teams where teams are they get a bunch of those, and you say, hey man, you can kind of edge these guys on a bit here, and they're gonna get a little chippy.
Yeah, you get a bunch of personal fouls. That's a sign that that's a characteristic of your team.
Yeah. So, but the other stuff, I think it has so many factors going into it. Maybe one team you're going against Georgia, their D line is buzzing. You're gonna get some holding calls that week. And, sometimes you may not go against a great D line, and there's not going to be a need for the holding. So I think it depends on the matchups and what's going on, but I never put too much into the penalty factor.
So, as we sit here on Wednesday, still a lot to get to on Thursday, and of course Friday, talking LSU and Arkansas. How do you feel about the matchup as of today?
Man, I guess today I feel a lot better. I hate to keep bringing up moral victories, but I think for this team, especially for the defense and being one of those young kids on defense, I'm excited to go strap up and play now because I know Coach is going to dial some stuff up. I'm going to have some opportunities to make some plays, and maybe we get beat a couple times, but I know it's not because we're in the same coverage every single play, time and time again. We're dialing some stuff up here. We're going to be back at home. A lot of these guys, it's going to be their last couple times to play in Death Valley and play in front of this home crowd. So you still got some stuff to play for here. So I'm feeling a lot better than I would have felt last week.
We live in such a week-to-week world here with this team. It's the exact opposite of what's going on at Georgia and the exact opposite of what's going on in Gainesville where they've been miserable for a month. We live week to week. When UCLA runs them off the field, you're thinking this team is in big trouble. This coaching staff is in big trouble. Okay. And then you turn around, you play a little bit better, and then you go to Mississippi State and you get a win. Okay, you got yourself on the ground, you got a road win. All of a sudden you play Florida and you run for $1 million. Okay, they kind of got it figured out a little bit. Well, then you fire the coach and they go to Oxford and they can't do anything. Well, they're not going to win another game the rest of the way. Well, you played well and you beat Auburn somehow, and then Bama, you think they're going to get blown out? It changes our narrative every single week here because we just don't know what to expect from this team. I think that's probably the reason their record is what it is, because sometimes they come out and they play really well and sometimes they just don't, and I guess that's just an indictment on the entire operation.
Yeah, I think that's and I guess kind of when I get to look at this thing, hindsight after the season, but that's exactly what you expect from a 500 football team. You're good enough to win sometimes, but just not consistent, doesn't have the level of focus to win all the time. And I think that's kind of what you've seen with this football team. And I think scheme has had a lot to do with it because obviously you look at the, athletes we trotted out there, the pig cages of the world.
Yep.
Here in Bryant-Denny in a one-possession game, a play away from doing something special. So I think to me, as much as I've been saying it all year, man, if we could have started out the year running some of these schemes, getting some of these college quarterbacks, having to, figure out where these blitzes are coming from. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, but I think the season could have gone a lot differently, especially when you had a lot more of the guns that you don't have now. So going forward, I think that bodes well for this team. Throwing caution out the wind, and these coordinators are starting to dial it up with nothing to lose. I think that's going to give these young kids something to play for, and I think hopefully we can get some sort of consistency to finish out this season.